Today guys, we're going to be breaking hair system stereotypes. I've seen so many myths online which just aren't true, and I'm going to be debunking them today and setting the record straight. Stereotype number 1. Hair systems look like wigs from the 1960s. This just isn't true. Hair systems or toupees or whatever you want to call them now are not wigs. They're very, very different things. If you Google pictures from the 1960s and the 1970s, you will see how obvious they are. People often forget that 50 to 60 years have passed since that period of time. In that period of time, technology has advanced with wigs and how they've evolved into toupees and hair systems. Yes, we still have wigs, but they're more designed for people with alopecia. Hair systems, toppers, toupees, whatever you want to call them, they're designed for the top of the head, but they're designed with invisibility and natural appearance in mind. People, mainly who have never worn a hair system or never even considered looking into these kind of things, assume that we are still stuck in this period of time that is the 1960s, where wigs are far too thick, they don't look natural, they look like a rug on one's head. That's just not the way of the world anymore. And I know that a lot of people who haven't worn systems or even looked into this in any great detail, you can tell they're still stuck in that time period because, you know, on my TikTok channel, I don't really post there very often, but when I do, it's just sort of for a laugh, really. Nothing serious on there. I sort of mess around with it a lot. But the number of people who write, it's a syrup. Now, for my American friends or from anyone from outside London, and I think because I actually live near London, a lot of my videos on TikTok get sent out to people in London, and people write, it's a syrup. Initially, I didn't know what the heck that meant. I was born in 1988, right? So any of this sort of stuff went straight over my head. Started happening a lot, looked into it. So Cockney rhyming slang, which is basically this sort of London slang, sort of like a dialect, they use certain words to represent other words, and syrup was syrup of figs, which rhymes with wig. So if someone was wearing a wig, you would say it's a syrup, right? Like syrup of figs. Now, I've no idea why Cockneys had a word for wig. Maybe a lot of their friends wore wigs. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. But I'd see that quite a lot, and I'm like, well, that's not correct today. And you look at the technology that they use today, and it's far and above miles ahead of what they used back then. Like, you would not get something of this quality in 1965, for instance. Today's sponsor, guys, is Livivid. You can find them at livividhair.com. You can get a 15% discount code on any stock hair system or accessories that I've negotiated with them just for you guys. It's Adam15. All the information is in the description box below this video. If you want high quality hair systems with good shipping times and top customer service, consider Livivid. Myth number 2, society won't accept you if you get a hair system. Again, this is a very, very outdated opinion and view, and it's certainly not a view that's held by the majority. Times change. Even in the last 10 years, a lot has changed. So, for instance, getting a getting a transplant in the 1990s used to be a little bit taboo, and not only were they not very good at doing hair systems back then, hair systems, I'm obsessed with them. They weren't very good at doing hair transplants back in the 1990s. And it's a lot better now. But you see so many people get hair transplants these days. Wayne Rooney, the footballer, for instance. There's a guy who plays for Arsenal Football Club called Rob Holding, and he got a hair transplant. It looks really good. But, you know, times have changed. Times have changed a lot in terms of society, and it's just accepted now. Yes, you will get the odd old bloke who's like, what's that all about? But how often are you going to encounter those kind of people? Attitudes have changed these days. As I mentioned a few videos ago, I told my closest friends that, you know, about my hair system, and a lot of them didn't even know I had trichotillomania, but they were like, dude, it looks really cool. You look way better with hair than when you were losing hair and you had these bald patches in the past. They were like, do what makes you feel good about yourself. And I think that's the prevailing attitude, especially with millennials and especially with Gen X. We're very, very aware. We're very, very aware of mental health. compared to our parents and our grandparents. It's much more within the public discourse, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing, because there's not such a stigma about men doing things to make themselves feel better. So yes, number 2, society is not like it was 60 years ago. Society has changed, and that's really important to remember. People are a lot more accepting of, if you want to do something to improve your appearance, but also improve your confidence, also improve your mental health. You know, it's not so taboo to talk about mental health anymore. Maybe 20 years ago it was, but if you were to say to someone, like a friend or someone else, be like, you know, I got this because I was having a hard time with my mental health. I was getting, you know, real social anxiety. I was getting agoraphobia even. I felt like I couldn't be myself. This allows me to feel like myself again, because I felt like I'd lost my identity when I was losing my hair, and now I've got my identity back. And I guarantee you a massive majority of people would be super, super, super understanding of that. Now, myth number 3, and I'm really, really going to enjoy debunking this one. My hair system might fly off if I go on a roller coaster or if I go swimming. Nope. I can understand why people think that, because you only see the top of a hair system. If you're not a hair system wearer, you can only see the top of the system. You don't see what goes on underneath. I used to wonder about that before I got systems, but they are firmly attached to your head by glue or tape. That's really important to remember. That's what holds the system on. If it didn't have that, yes, the hair system would fly off. But nobody in their right mind walks around with the hair system without tape or glue or clips, because it would simply just slip off. It wouldn't even fly off, it would just slip off, because there's nothing holding it to your scalp. So that's really, really important to remember. Your hair system will not come off in the swimming pool. It will not fly off on a roller coaster, or if you jump off a cliff into the sea or something, or off a diving board. It's firmly attached to your head by glue or tape or clips. Now, myth number 4, this is quite a common stereotype I find. They think, people who are not system wearers, they think that it must be like really hot and uncomfortable to wear this thing, and that it's unbearable and you have to take it off every couple of days and let your scalp breathe and all of that kind of stuff. Again, this is not true. Maybe it was true 60 years ago, which we were talking about at the top of this video, but not anymore. Not anymore. They're very light, they're airy. Anyone who's seen me wear a lace base when I do my tutorials, you'll see how much air can get in through that thing. With a poly as well, they're incredibly light. The actual polyurethane, which is the base, is incredibly thin. It's so thin you can't actually even see how thick it is. It's that thin. So they are very, very comfortable to wear. Glue, in my opinion, is slightly more comfortable than tape. I find I can get more time out of glue, even though it's a slightly messier cleanup. But what do you value, guys? Do you value not having to clean up so often, or do you value comfort? Like it's personal prerogative, you know. But yes, they're not hot. They are not uncomfortable. And some people do say, I've seen some people say that polys get hot, and to an extent, yes, they can get hot if you're in a desert or in a really hot country. Yes, it can get a little bit hot, the slightly thicker bases. But if you live in one of those environments, you don't need to wear one of those bases. That's the beauty of hair systems. You don't have to go with one. There's multiple different options out there that can suit your way of living, how often you go to the gym or sweat, or the climate that you live in. It can literally cater for every single environment. And myth number 5 is that if you've got any sort of natural hair on the top of your head, if it's receding or if it's not fully bald, then you can't get a system. Again, this is a common myth, a bit of a stereotype, but it's just not true. You can have hair. I still have hair under my system, and I just shave it every week or 2 weeks. Whenever I clean, I just shave it. So hair can grow under. Obviously, you don't want to leave it growing for like 3 months or 4 months, because then you won't be able to stick the system down. But if you have hair there, then you can still get a system, but you know, you just be mindful that you need to shave it every couple of weeks. If you have a full head of hair, I don't know why you'd want a system in the first place, but if you, for whatever reason, you didn't like your hair and you did want one, it's still doable, but you'd probably have to take it off every 3-4 days and just shave under it. So it's a bit more legwork, but you can still do it. I hope you found that video insightful, guys. What other stereotypes or myths have you come across? Let's debunk them together. Let's debunk them in the comments box below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Let's grow this tribe as much as possible. Let's help more people find this content. And as I said in my last video, the more subscribers I get, the better I can make this content. So if I get more subscribers, I can make better content, I can make more regular content, I can spend more time doing this. So please do help me out, subscribe, and do comment below if you've got any thoughts on this particular video. Till next time, guys, bye for now.